morning. My name's John with thepinetree.net, and I have a great pleasure to be here with attorney David Singer.
Hey John, how are you? Good to see you.
Good. Hey, thank you for meeting with us.
Sure.
Now, you're running for district attorney, correct?
That's correct.
Now, I guess as we're trying to do a little candidate interviews as everybody's leading up to election day, kind of give people the who, what, when, where, why they should vote for you.
Okay, John. Well, to start off with, I've been practicing criminal law in the Calaveras County area for about 5 years now.
Okay.
Was one of those guys kind of went to law school a little bit later in life, but prior to that, I spent about 20 years in the private sector doing a lot of business and operations
Right.
management. So that gives me a pretty good background, I believe, in terms of I've had to develop budgets and develop policies and procedures and implement them and train staff. And we're in a unique position right now, given a lot of the changes coming down the pike with AB 109,
Right.
that forces us to kind of rethink how we charge cases, what's going to be really, really critical is how we evaluate them. Because
Do you think it'll make, basically, for lack of a better term, the triage on the front end, more aggressive on knowing where to put the resources type of thing, or?
Well, it will be. The important thing is there are certain things in a person's criminal background that makes them ineligible to serve their prison term at the county level.
Got it.
So the critical thing is going to be to evaluate the cases and their criminal record to see if there are things there that would make them ineligible to serve the sentence here.
Okay.
That'll dictate how the case is charged and how it's prosecuted through the system.
Got
If we
it.
can make them ineligible to do their time here, that's less strain on our resources here in our jails and our.
You get to move those dollars somewhere else, so to speak.
We hope so. We hope so. I mean, everybody's in the position here where you got to kind of fight and claw and scratch for every
Right.
dollar you can
Right.
get. So, the more effectively and efficiently you can operate your office, the little bit more money you'll have to do some other things. This particular office is sorely lacking in terms of an investigative staff. They went from 3 DA investigators down to 1.
Okay.
And by comparison, Amador County has just about 1 investigator for every deputy DA. So when you can fully investigate the cases you're working on, your chances of prevailing at trial are certainly much better. And you're allowed to strengthen your cases to get the convictions.
Right, right. Now, this may be kind of an overly broad question, but from some people in the general public, what do you really see is the role of the DA's office? As a district attorney, where do you see? I mean, where do you see it?
To me, the chief role of the district attorney is you are the #1 law enforcement officer in the county.
Got it.
So it's very, very important, as I said before, to look at the reports that are submitted by law enforcement, properly charge the crimes that
Yeah.
meet the legal definitions,
Yeah.
and actively go after them. For the law to have any kind of deterrent value, you have to prosecute, and there have to be consequences at the other end of it.
Right.
Unfortunately, Calaveras County has a reputation of kind of this revolving door of criminals. They come in, they go out, and they come back.
Sure.
So we need to stop this catch and release thing
Yeah.
we've got going on right now.
Now, and going forward on that, I guess with some of the AB 109 issues and things, is it going to make the punishment phase different? I mean, it's more home monitoring. I mean, on the sentencing, how do you see the budgetary constraints changing the penalty side?
Well, there are tools built into AB 109, and one thing I want to make clear to people is a lot of people have this misconception that AB 109 was the result of this Supreme Court
Right.
coming down to the state
Right.
of California saying
Right.
the prisons are overcrowded,
Right.
the conditions are inhumane, they're unconstitutional, you need to reduce the size of the population. AB 109 was, to me this is the telling story, AB 109 was drafted by the Committee on Budget. They have nothing to do with law enforcement. This is
Got it.
everything about
Got
the
it.
state budget, okay?
Got it.
In fact, even in the newly enacted Penal Code Section 17.5,
Yeah.
it specifically states the provisions of this act are not designed to alleviate prison overcrowding. So it's all about money. They're passing the state's problem onto the counties. So what they're hoping is that the district attorneys of the counties in the state of California, out of necessity, will perhaps have to start wobbling cases down. And for people who don't know what that means, there are certain crimes that can be charged as either felonies or misdemeanors,
Right.
depending on the conduct, or misdemeanors or infractions, depending on the level of conduct. I think what the legislature is hoping that they'll start wobbling some of the felonies down to misdemeanors and misdemeanors down infractions.
Sure.
So that you're not impacting your own jail so much. But what that does is put the public at risk, and I want the citizens of Calaveras County to know is that I am not gonna change the way the offenses should be charged and the way criminals should be prosecuted just to appease the state of California for their own inept mismanagement of the budget. I wanna make that perfectly clear. There are tools built into AB 109 that does give judges discretion to do certain things at sentencing, split sentences.
Sure.
Probation has some tools, whether they put them on some kind of alternative sentencing program. Even the sheriff has some discretion in terms of from some rather minor violations, thing called flash incarceration. They just, boom, 10 days, they put you in custody. So there's other tools that are available. And to me, I don't know that AB 109 is going to work, to be honest with you.
Right.
We're forced to have to deal with it. Like I said, I think the state legislature is hoping that the district attorneys will buy in and start dumbing down some of their charges. But to me, like I said, that puts the public at risk. So I'm going to prosecute the way it should be, and I imagine most of the district attorneys throughout the state will do the same thing. And within a couple of years, when the jails are overcrowded and they're having to turn people loose, the citizens of the state, there will be a backlash against their legislature saying, look, the state needs to step up and take upon their responsibility and put these people back in state prison.
Now, I guess we're starting to see some trickle down from some of that here already, because it's my understanding that the officer-involved shooting case several weeks ago was an AB 109 alternative release type of situation as well. Is that correct? Is that...
If you're referring to the incident in Arnold,
yes.
My understanding of that particular individual was it was not an AB 109 situation.
Okay, sorry.
It was I believe a DUI for which he was doing electronic monitoring in lieu of the jail time. And I think probation may have gotten kind of a bad rap on that because there was a kind of a little bit of a backlash on that. Said, well, he was on probation and he wasn't properly supervised. The reality is he was on informal probation. He was on court probation, not formal probation. The probation department's involvement was only to the extent as they're the ones that administer the electronic monitoring program, but he wasn't formally supervised by probation.
Got it. Okay. Now, I know we're starting to see some statistics out now on property crime. You know, the increase of just crime, you were saying crime of opportunity, or maybe almost like an economic type of necessity with the... it looks like there may be an increase in workload, or at least potential workload, for the DA's office. From the outside looking in, do you have things that you think you can do to make things more efficient? Or, you know, what changes would you... I mean, do you have a list of things that you'd like to do?
Well, one of the things I really want to do is develop some criteria with the help of the attorney staff that's already there. I mean, I learned from my management days that I don't have all the answers.
Right.
And when you get the people that do the job on a daily basis to participate in the development of the procedures, they're the ones who do the work every day, so they know what works, what doesn't work. To develop criteria for evaluating the cases when they first come in, how we want to approach the prosecution of the cases, what types of offers we will make in certain types of cases, so that regardless of which deputy DA handles a case, you're going to get consistency.
Got it.
Throughout. And when things are more consistent, they become more efficient. When they're more efficient, it's more cost effective. We won't have situations like we just had recently with this murder trial that Mr. Foley handled, and there was an offer at the very beginning of the case to resolve it for an involuntary manslaughter charge, which the DA's office rejected. They held out for a second-degree murder. Because of my association with Mr. Foley, I was privy to the facts of the case, and that's all the case really was worth. And when you look at the credibility of the state's witnesses, most of them being involved with drugs, it was one that probably should not have gone to trial. And it did go to trial at a cost of about $150,000, and the jury came back and acquitted him of second-degree murder and found him guilty of involuntary manslaughter. So that's, to me, a trial that didn't have to happen. And if you have 2 or 3 of those trials a year, you could be talking about $500,000 that's spent on trials that really didn't have to go.
Interesting.
At half
Right.
$1 million,
It can spread a lot of ways.
well, I could get those investigators
Yeah.
we were just talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
or it goes back into the sheriff's department to help with deputies. If every department approached their departments that way,
Yeah.
you know, we'd save the county some money, and then we can increase the spending on law enforcement.
Well, I guess then is just in summation then, what would you say? You know, for the area to mark that ballot, what's the hot buttons you think they should look for?
Well, what you're gonna see is a more aggressive approach to the district attorney's office.
Okay.
I mean, people, if you've seen my signs out there, there's 3 words on each one of them, and one's aggressive, effective, and consistent. And when you have that, you save money. If you don't, if you can put these people away for a little bit while longer, maybe they'll
Right.
get it. They're not back on the streets. That reduces the workload on law enforcement and the probation department. So we just need to put some teeth back into it. And when I say tough and aggressive, I don't mean unreasonable and uncaring. It's just
Right.
we must always remember that we're talking about people. We are dealing with people. There are the Wesley Shermantines out there that have,
Mhm.
you know, pretty much lost their humanity, but those are few and far between. Most of the people that we come in contact with in the criminal justice system are normal people like you and I that just made a bad choice somewhere along the line, or they got
Right.
involved in drugs and things that kind of took them down the wrong path.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Is that all right?